Hey guys, welcome back to Seduce Me to the Demon War. So we're gonna do the next part of Matthew's playthrough. Okay, so the entire experience was not something I expected to go through, especially since it was now interfering with my wedding. I was trapped in a demon world under a curse I couldn't break without the demon lord being killed, and I was expected to wait. The entire journey to my room became one filled with mild anger within me. At least Matthew was here to help me through this, but I couldn't help but let the situation sink underneath my skin. This wasn't fair at all. I knew Matthew could sense my anger as he lightly squeezed my hand, which was gently cupped at his as he walked beside me.
Hey, what's wrong?
Well, you know, all the stuff, and I couldn't get married, so it kind of sucks.
Hey, don't worry about it, alright? Think about it as a vacation or something.
I guess it's like a forced vacation considering that I'm bound to a barrier curse, but I guess you're right.
Yeah, a vacation to, see new sights?
I couldn't help the amused smile on my face as Matthew tried to make me feel better. It was another reason why I adored him. He did his very best to make sure that I was happy. Despite the crappy situation we were in, I was thankful for that. I wrapped my arm around him and nodded. Thanks, Matthew. Matthew smiled and nodded before kissing my cheek.
You're welcome. Anything for you.
Matthew and I continued to walk down the halls of the castle until we arrived at the same ambassador room I had slept in before. I guess that the room was mine for now. Stepping in, Matthew looked around in slight awe.
Whoa. Awesome digs.
Whatever that means. It was almost like we stepped into a hotel on vacation, except this one was forced on us until the end of a civil war. It was mildly messed up, but it was a situation we had to deal with. I don't know what else I expected from dating a demon after all. Matthew, however, began to walk around the room, taking in the sight of his decor.
This is a really fancy room. Wonder what room the others got.
Probably not as good as the protagonist. Apparently, this is the open ambassador's room. I was able to sleep here when I arrived. Because I'm special.
Right. Time's different here. Holy crap, I forgot about that.
Wait, huh? And then he explains the time difference.
How do I explain this without making it confusing? Well, you see, time moves faster here compared to the human world. Like, much faster. If I remember right, then I think the time difference is every 5 hours here is 1 hour there? Maybe?
So, if I was here for a day, then...
Yeah, that's right. You were gone from the human world for about 5 hours.
They found me in 5 hours. I was getting really confused. Matthew, however, rushed over to me and sat down next to me, hip to hip.
Hey, don't worry about it, okay? We found you, so that's all that matters.
I could only nod before looking at the ground. It was a lot to take in, but at least I wasn't really missing for a day in the human world. However, I was going to be here for a week, so in accordance to the time difference, I would be missing for more than a day. How was everyone at home going to react? I could only hope that something was used as a cover to delay the wedding or the like. I looked up at Matthew, now a bit concerned.
Huh? What is it?
What happened while I was missing? Matthew frowned a bit and rubbed his head, running his hands through his fluffy hair as he spoke, staring at his knees.
Well, when you didn't come with the rings, we got kinda worried and tried to call you. When you didn't pick up, we kinda panicked, but Irene and Iridessa decided to rush over to the house to see what had happened. They came back, saying you were gone. We pretty much scrambled to use our magic to wipe everyone's memories, reschedule everything, and use the time to find out what happened.
Matthew pressed his lips together, most likely remembering what he felt during my absence. I felt bad, but there was nothing I could have done to stop it.
I guess we have to thank Simon for finding you. Without him, we wouldn't have figured out what happened.
Simon? Matthew nodded before stuffing his hand in his pocket and pulling out the infuriating stuffed animal. Simon blinked a couple of times before looking up at me and giggling as like he usually did. Oh yeah, like the little creepy thing I got in the first game. Well, he was the one that hid the rings. I had to find him.
I know, but after you were taken, he helped us pinpoint where you were, and bam! Here we are.
Aw, thanks, dude.
I guess this little furball was useful after all.
He's like a Pokemon.
Huh?
Well, at least you found me. Soon we'll be able to go home and get married like we planned. It gave me a little hope to let the thoughts sink in. Despite the terrible situation we were in, we would soon be able to go home. I was positive we would win this war and everything would work out just fine in the end. Matthew seemed to agree, nodding as well with a smile.
Yeah. We'll go home soon.
He wrapped his arms around me and nuzzled the side of my head, making me softly giggle. My body felt relieved to have him near me, causing me to wrap my own arms around him. My heart was jumping with joy regardless of the situation we were in. Simon took to the cue to hop off my shoulder and quickly skittered across the floor to end up the fireplace mantel, resting on it with the decor that sat upon it. However, he soon released me and fell back onto the bed.
Man, it's been so long since I felt a demon bed.
Is it any different?
Well, demons don't sleep in this world, so we get very comfy beds just so we can lay back and relax on.
Wait, demons don't sleep?
Nah, we're too paranoid that people will kill us in our sleep.
Well, I guess
Energy
that you
and
can
food.
just...
As long as we have both, we can pretty much be awake 24/7.
Man, I can only imagine what things that I would do if I could do that. Matthew stretched and let out a groan before relaxing on the bed sheets, letting out a small yawn.
Oh, I'm tired. You want to hit the hay?
Do I ever?
I love you so much. I promise we'll get home soon.
I smiled, kissing his cheek before closing my eyes and drifting to sleep. Tomorrow was going to be a long day. However, as I opened my eyes, I found myself not looking at Matthew or in my bed, but I felt cold ground beneath me and something tightly wrapped around my neck. Oh boy, more nightmares. I looked down, seeing my skin dusty and dirty, which only added more confusion. What was happening to me? I reached up and gasped once more as I felt a familiar collar around my neck, a chain dangling from the front and running behind me. I instinctively grabbed the collar, trying to pull it from my neck, but as I did, something yanked a chain connected to it and caused me to fall back, knocking the wind out of me. Ah! I turned my head to the chain pull to see a familiar imp demon glaring down at me and gripping onto my chain. It was the same one from the vision Matthew showed me when Diana came around, but how could this be? I quickly grabbed the chain and tried to yank it from his hands, wanting to be free, but found no strength to actually pull it out of the imp's grasp. The imp merely cackled and pulled the chain again, making me fall forward onto my stomach. I froze. This was another dream, and I could tell that Matthew was going to be the villain once again. My mind began to panic as I scrambled up to my hands and knees, looking around the predicament I was in. I was in a large steel cage. My chain hung out between the bars in the hands of an imp guarding my cell. I had no neighbors, nor did I hear anyone else in the space with me. It was definitely a dream, and I needed to wake up before Matthew came around. I looked around the room, slowing my breath and trying to think logically. What could I do? The first thing was to do something about the chain around my neck, then I could try and break the door down somehow and be free. So if I realize that I'm dreaming, why don't I just try to wake up rather than just go along with the dream? Because I feel like that would just submerge you more in the dream. I don't know. I quickly grabbed the chain again, swiveled on the ground to be on my bottom, locking my feet against the door and pulling the chain back. I managed to get some purchase, and luckily the imp couldn't manage to pull me forward from my struggle. A large bolt of red lightning suddenly traveled down the chain and shocked the collar around my neck, causing me to release a soundless scream. My body became electrocuted in red light energy, setting waves of pain through every part of me. As he finally stopped, I let out a gasp and fell back onto the ground, shaking from the aftermath. My body felt entirely jittery and licks of pain brushed over my nerves from the shock. What the hell? I could barely look over at the imp from the pain I was feeling, seeing him smirk at what he'd done. However, as soon as I saw the grin appear in his ugly lips, a foot jammed to the side of the imp's head, causing it to buckle over. What?
You fucking pig fawn! What did you do?
Whoa. Why do you look like that? My eyes glanced over to see Matthew in his demon form glaring daggers at the fallen imp with his foot jammed into his cheek. As he looked at me, still angered with a snarl across his expression, I gasped, seeing a familiar gold color over his eyes. The evil Matthew had returned. Gingerly, he took up my chain and pulled me to the door, leaning in and keeping the chain beneath his head so he can bring my head as close to him as he could without me being pulled against the bars in the door. Staring into his eyes, I was surprised to feel calm and almost hopeful that maybe this was a different Matthew, one who was cruel and full of ill intent. Then again, he kept me in the cell and didn't release me, so that was a sign I was wrong. Despite this, he spoke calmly and almost comfortingly.
Did he hurt you?
Of course, I nodded. Whatever the electrocution the imp had done made me feel like I was dying for a split second. Matthew, in response to my reply, glittered at the imp with a deadly pair of eyes, causing the victim in question to sleep back against the wall.
I order you not to hurt her. If she's hurt, then she can't give me proper energy, and I won't be able to rule this world properly. Do you know
yes, of
how much
course.
of a problem that would be?
The imp opened his mouth to protest, but as soon as he did, Matthew formed a knife in the air and chucked it into his open mouth, a splash of blood erupting from behind the imp's head as the knife embedded itself into the back of his throat. Well, that's nice. With a garbled whimper, the imp slowly collapsed to the ground, dying at last. I, however, could only watch horrified with my hands over my mouth. What was going on? Matthew turned back to me and pulled my chain slightly, causing me to look back at him with fearful eyes.
There! Now he won't hurt you anymore.
I guess that doesn't... Okay. Matthew's face slowly shifted to a cold, sadistic glare.
I would. But how will I know that you won't run away from me?
You do have a point there. I would probably run. Make me your queen, dude. Matthew, however, left out almost a barkable laugh.
Me, king of the demon world, marry a human?
Damn. I thought James was supposed to be the heir, though.
Besides, even if I made you a succubus, your energy would be wasted.
My heart broke into pieces when my anger flared. This was not my Matthew. My Matthew would definitely allow me to rule the demon world with him. I gripped the bars and snarled through them at my captor, imagining the man in front of me as a stranger and not the one I loved. What's wrong with you? Let me go! A violent cackle erupted from Matthew as he leaned close to me, pulling my chain harder to pull me against the door.
That's okay. Get angry. You know what they say. Angry sex is always the best.
Too lewd. I snarled even harder, disgusted at his words. This was not the man I loved, nor would he ever be in my dreams. Matthew only let out a chuckle as he finally drew back and slid his hand up to the end of my chain.
I'm not in the mood to take your energy now. I'll come back another time.
With a flash of blue energy, the chain in his hand vanished but reappeared above me, giving me enough slack to let me lie down, but only if I was directly underneath it. I grimaced and pulled at the chain, wanting to still be free from it, but only heard the chuckle of Matthew's cruel sadism, as he turned and began to walk away.
You better be prepared when I get back. I've got a world to rule after all. Can't spend all my time making sure you're ready.
A violent quake ran through my body and I began to struggle harder, making him laugh as he left the hall out of my sight. Let me go! I shut my eyes tightly, pulling and tugging as much as I could. Despite it being to no avail, I screamed once again, this time breaking the illusion around me and waking up at last. Let me go! I sat up, screaming through the air as my hands collapsed themselves around my neck. My scream reverberated throughout the room, barely letting me notice Matthew falling out of bed beside me.
Whoa!
I quickly looked over at the sound of a hard thump on the ground, seeing Matthew's curly head peek out from over the side of the bed. His hand ran over his hair as a pain groan escaped his lips. Oh gosh. Ignoring what had just happened to me, I scrambled across the bed and slid off of the bed to kneel beside him. Luckily, he wasn't badly hurt, but he rubbed his head, obviously disoriented and falling out of bed. To add more insult to the injury, Simon had crawled down from the mantel and began to poke at Matthew with his mini knife. Thankfully, the knife wasn't actually sharp, so all it did was prod and poke at Matthew's skin without drawing blood.
Simon! Simon, knock it off!
Matthew flailed his arm, almost knocking Simon away with his hand. Taking the hint, Simon jumped onto the bed and began to hop around on top of it as his own distraction while I looked to Matthew. I'm so sorry. Are you okay?
Huh? Yeah, I'm fine. Oh.
Matthew grimaced, stretching his back and neck before shaking his head and looking up at me, slightly bleary-eyed from sleep.
You okay? Or did you have another nightmare?
Oh yeah,
I'm
I
sorry.
did.
Do you want a hug?
That'd be pretty nice. Matthew smiled softly before swiveling onto his knees and hugging me to his body, laying my head on his shoulder. I wrapped my arms around him and closed my eyes, taking in his reassuring scent. As the set of knocks appeared at our door, however, Matthew and I shot our heads in the direction of the sound.
Oi! Time to wake up! We got grub!
Ugh, can you not call it that?
Matthew and I looked at each other before scrambling up onto the bed, forgetting that Simon was on it. I stood across the bed and sat down, trying to make it seem like I'd just woken up, as Matthew crawled over but wound up making Simon release a heavy squeak.
Ah!
Once again, he fell off the bed and landed on the floor, releasing another shout of pain.
Is everything alright in there?
We're fine! We're fine.
Simon, cackling at Matthew's mistake, scrambled back up onto the fireplace mantle and became a doll once more as I cleared my throat. Come in. As the door opened, Matthew threw himself onto the mattress, placing his head on his hand as like he completely planned to kneel beside the bed as his brothers and their wives entered with plates of food in their hands. Okay, I'm good. Damien and basic bitch Twyla, the ones who were carrying extra plates of food, stopped and stared at us with raised eyebrows. Damien, of course, looked over the mantel at Simon before smiling and shaking his head, passing his extra plate to Matthew.
Thanks, bro.
You're welcome, Matthew.
Here you go.
Twyla placed her extra plate on my hands and smiled before walking over to an empty space with Damien eating. On the plates were sliced fruits, bread, cheese, and some sort of jerky. James and Sam, however, were the only ones who didn't start indulging in what was on the menu.
So, we have less than a week to prepare for the Demon Lord.
You know, fuck me. But I'm excited as shit to finally get to kick his ass into the ground.
The other brothers seemed to agree, even Matthew. However, I was stuck on the nightmare I had the night before. I unconsciously rubbed my neck, remembering the feel of the collar around it. Doing so caught Irides's attention.
Hey, what's wrong? Did you hurt your neck?
I don't answer to you. I'm fine. The wives seemed unconvinced, but they nodded anyway. The boys, however, focused on the battle ahead of us.
So, do we plan on training like we usually do?
That seems to be the best plan. It's been a long time since we've actually fought in a battle.
Have you fought in one before?
The boys, despite the shame in their eyes, nodded slowly in unison.
Part of us living in our father's castle involved receiving the occasional unexpected visitor.
Holy crap, man. I remember one time there was this group that just stormed in and tried to take on the old man, but he sent James to take care of him. I'd never seen James so pissed off before.
That's because they threatened to burn the castle down if I didn't surrender. Obviously, that was out of the question.
Well, Sam, what about you when you got into those fights with the army generals? They weren't too happy about you being so testy with them.
They got cocky and thought they could push me around. Fuck 'em and good riddance.
The more I listened, the more the battle stories seemed more about James, Eric, and Sam. Damien obviously stayed out of fighting, but what about Matthew? I looked at Matthew, seeing him simply eat his food, staring down his plate. Did he have nothing to add to the conversation? What about you, Matthew?
Huh?
I fought back, giggling at the sight of him stuffing his face, but as everyone turned over and looked at him, I relaxed a bit and waited. I was curious to see if Matthew had any stories of his own to tell. To my surprise, Matthew swallowed the jerky in his mouth and shook his head.
No, I wasn't the fighting type. Never have been, really.
My mind flashed back to him fighting Malix and how he managed to not only duck and dodge Malix's gun, but also make Swiss cheese out of the devil in question. Why would he lie? Sam scoffed and spit into the fireplace, making us all look over at him.
What a crock of bullshit, Pipsqueak.
Bullshit? What the hell is that supposed to mean?
Exactly what the word
Don't
means.
fucking play dumb with me. I remember you massacring an entire gang of Vince because they looked at your mom funny. I was the one who had to clean that shit up.
I suddenly went wide-eyed at Matthew, who in turn stared right at me with a fearful frown on his face. He got into fights here? I guess it was expected of a demon to at least get into one fight of their life, but Matthew and Maskisker?
No, it wasn't like that. It wasn't me.
Like hell it wasn't.
Dude, shut up!
Make me!
I will!
Sam and Matthew jumped out of their seats and marched at each other, slamming their foreheads together and snarling, fire burning in each of their eyes. I quickly rushed up and pulled at Matthew's arm, trying to bring him back to the bed. Calm down,
Sam, knock it off!
Despite Carrie also pulling Sam's arm, neither of us could pull our incubus away from the other as they battled each other with their eyes. The air in the room became full of tense energy until suddenly both the boys were swatted over the head.
Fuck!
Ow!
Both of you! That's enough!
I looked up to see James holding his fist that he used to sock his brothers with the glare painted all over his face. Matthew and Sam looked up at their eldest brother, both irritated at being hit, but silent enough to know not to talk back. A moment before, Sam stood up straight and shook his head, finally allowing Carrie to pull him back to a spot where they could sit down.
Whatever.
Matthew, on the other hand, straightened up and continued to glare at James, almost in defiance. Something sparked in his eyes, something that made me worried, so I pulled his arm back, trying to catch his attention. Hey, calm down, dude. Matthew finally looked at me, slowly receding back to his normal gaze, before nodding and rubbing his head over the newly forming bruise while sitting down beside me.
Well, this is an interesting family reunion.
Diana's voice suddenly made all of us turn to the door to see her, and Sarah in the doorway with Diana leaning against the archway. As she pushed off and stepped in, Sarah followed and closed the door.
Can we help you?
Possibly, if you all want to survive this war and go home. Especially you, my dear.
Diana looked over to me and crossed her arms under her bosom. What did she mean? Diana ran a hand through her hair and looked around the room, pressing her lips into a fine line.
So, about all of you participating in the war, you all obviously need to train.
Everyone nodded in agreement to her statement. While we weren't in battle ready, we needed to at least know how to defend ourselves. Diana, however, looked to me.
You, most of all.
What? I was suddenly confused. How come I was the odd one out and I had to be ready the most? The last thing I remember about me training was that Diana was against the idea altogether.
Apparently, there are guidelines to breaking this curse. Not only do we have to kill the Demon Lord, but you have to be nearby when it happens for the curse to even break.
Does that mean that I can kill him?
Shadow. He spent the night trying to find alternative ways to break your curse. Unfortunately, we didn't find anything of the sort, but we found the guidelines to breaking it.
Well, that was thoughtful of him.
Even while it doesn't, it's still better to be safe than sorry. I don't want to kill him and then still have you stuck here because of an error.
That's pretty safe. I can deal with that reasoning.
Anyway, we can't have you dying on the way there, and we can't monitor you when we're in battle. You should at least know how to defend yourself. That's why we've come up with a solution.
Well, I haven't been able to use my
What
demon
solution?
magic yet.
Simple. The other rebel leaders and Sarah have agreed that if you'd like a trainer to enhance your abilities, you can train with one of them.
Ooh, so I get to pick a trainer.
Each of the leaders is proficient in a different area of magic and battle strategy.
That's cool.
Good enough for self-defense. I can't speak for the others, but I can assure you that with Sarah's skill and training methods, you will be well prepared by the time the siege arrives.
Sarah nodded and bowed to me slightly. While I was flattered at the idea, did I really need a trainer? I knew Taekwondo and at least knew how to defend myself, demon or not. Then again, when we were in the demon world where magic was the norm. What would the others teach me?
Sergeant is a brute demon, bred from a nomadic tribe. He most likely teach you the ways of the brute demon, using your fists and speed to keep you alive. Shadow is, by definition, a shadow demon, so he'd probably teach you about dark magic, light manipulation, and assassination. Rabbit is a wild magic-based animal demon, using her animal-focused energy as her weapon. She'd probably teach you how to do the same. Fae? I am honestly not sure. I know they can change their size and use elemental magic as well, but to be honest, I do not know what they would teach you.
Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the other trainers. And since there's 5 of the boys, I think I'm going to choose a different trainer each of the boys. So I'm going to do Shadow now, and then with the next one I'll probably do Rabbit, so on and so forth. With that, Diana turned on her heel and left the room.
Finish eating. Afterwards, you should start training.
Everyone in the room nodded as their affirmation as Diana and Sarah left.
Well, it looks like we'll be busy for the next couple of days.
Or forever.
This'll be fun.
Man, training's gonna suck.
It'll be worth it though.
Damien's right.
As we all finished eating, everyone left to either train or do things on their own. I was left to start my own work, determined to be prepared for what was to come. The Demon Lord wasn't going to win. I wouldn't let him. Alright guys, I'm gonna go ahead and stop it here since it seems like a good stopping point. Next time we're gonna start training with Shadow and doing more of working towards meeting evil Matthew. But anyway, if you like this, go ahead and leave a like. If you have any suggestions for games, leave them down below. And if you'd like to subscribe, go ahead. I'd really appreciate it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.